WBNE.
Hi, I'm Cari,
And I'm Jade.
and we're the Curly Critics. And today we're talking about Invincible by Troy Denning.
Yeah.
Pause for Jade's awkward, yeah.
I couldn't help myself.
This book is not Star Wars canon. I just want to make that clear.
Let's start with that before any of you come after us going, what are you doing? What about 7, 8, 9? Nothing. No, you want to know why 6 was afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, and 9 sucked. Okay?
Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. But
that was
this
a
book,
harsh joke. I just thought it was funny, and I said it the other day and no one laughed, so...
This book that we're talking about today would have made a great sequel trilogy. And I have a list of things that are in this book that would have made the sequel trilogy better.
And I have a thing that was in the sequel trilogy that they stole. Don't worry.
Okay, it occurred to me while we were reading this, like right at the end, I was like writing my notes and I was like, liking the expanded universe, Legends, Star Wars is probably exactly how it feels to be a comic book fan.
Oh, that's
like to be a Marvel
little.
Comic book fan.
Except you know that that's canon.
Right.
Because literally like Stan Lee wrote it.
Right, the comic books are different because they're all canon, but there's just so many of them, but they're not all going to make it to the screen. And like what's on the screen is usually a collection of a bunch of comic book things.
Yeah.
And so the Star Wars movies are pretty much done the same thing, except they're just completely, like, they're not even taking, like, crediting these. Yeah. Like the comic books do. They're just, like, taking things and then be like, look at this great idea we came up with. And we're like, we know where that's from. I know where Kylo Ren came from.
What we're trying to say is, this hurts our souls a little bit. When I found out that suddenly this book and all of the books I read in middle school and high school weren't canon anymore, a part of my soul definitely died. So.
Yeah, I read a lot of Obi-Wan Qui-Gon books.
Yeah.
So those, technically not canon, but you can't really mess with them that much.
Right.
They were written after the prequel movies came out anyway, and they were all just like, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon went on this adventure.
Yeah, it wasn't all the after 6 things that I was super obsessed with that they literally did mess with. At the time, we had no idea because it was like 2012 and none of this stuff was going on yet. But then once word came out, oh, there's a 7, and suddenly all of the books you've ever loved aren't a thing anymore. It was like, oh. Okay.
So, this book comes with a lot of context because we're delving into a universe that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And we're reading it because this book has a lot of nostalgia. Oh, yeah. We haven't read an old book in a long time.
Yeah.
Jade, what's your history with this book?
I was about to say, don't we do that?
We haven't in a while.
Oh, got him. So my history with this book, I don't remember what happened first. I don't know if I read it at the library, like rented it, and then was like, oh man, I have to have this. Or if I just saw a Star Wars book at Half Price Books and went, cool, yeah, cool, I'm gonna buy this now. I have no idea how I came to get this book.
I feel like it might have had something to do with my brother.
Probably. I know I was definitely obsessed with the, shoot, I forgot the most recent series that just came out. I forgot the name of it. Whatever. But I was really obsessed with the book in that series called Backlash. That one was really good, and I was like, whoa, what is all the context for this? And so I saw this book and was like, oh, this is really cool. Oh, it has some characters I know. And I read this
Fate of the
book,
Jedi.
Fate of the Jedi. Oh, that series. You guys, that series is so good. Like, oh my gosh. I didn't finish it mostly because I started high school and got busy, but like, oh, it was so good. Um, I honestly, after reading this book, I don't remember it the same. And usually with books, you get that nostalgic feeling and you see it the same way in your head and you picture it the same way. That was not the case with this book. And I think it had something to do with like different attention to detail, um, other things, whatever. But I definitely didn't see it the same way. And it wasn't like, oh, it was so disappointing. No, it was just like, this is not what I remember. This is so weird. Carrie, what was your history with this book?
Okay, so there are parts of this book that I remember Zach, my older brother, telling me about.
Really, I didn't realize he had read it, but I guess I should have because he's like more of a nerd
He,
than we are.
yeah, I like remember as like a little kid, like Star Wars is like a big part of my childhood. When my parents would go on dates, my older brother would play Knights of the Old Republic, the video game with us, where he would like do all the controls, but we would like tell him what to do.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And he would always like he would like run over and like mute the TV whenever it said damn. Because he was like, you can't hear this. And we were like I was like 12 and Tim was like 10.
That's so funny.
But I cannot even remember what scene it was specifically. Hold on.
She was talking about beavers, guys. They have beavers in Star Wars.
Beavers are real. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think I remember Zach being like, hey, like, there's this guy, Jason, he turns to the dark side. His name was Darth Cavius. It's
Cadius?
I think it's either Cadus or Cadus.
It's Cadus, dude. Cadius. Sorry,
That
I
just
won't do that anymore.
there's gonna be there's so many things in this book that I've never said out loud before.
We're gonna struggle power through. Uh-huh.
But I remember him telling me about that, and I remember him telling me about when Luke like force visions himself into the fight with Jaina. Like I remember him telling me about that when I was like 10.
Mm,
And I like was reading that scene and I was like I could like picture myself in my brother's room, him telling this to me. And that was
incredible.
just very like this book has so much nostalgia for me.
Oh yeah.
Like there are a lot of scenes that like I opened this book and I read the first paragraph and I was like I don't remember this at all. And then I read Boba Fett's name and it all just like came flooding back. Like the images that I've like had in my head the first time I read it and like all of these things and like every chapter was like that and I was like, "Whoa. It's been like 10 years since I've read this book."
Yeah.
Yeah, so my brother read it or told me about it. My brother was definitely my introduction into the extended universe. I have so many EU books that were his that he gave to my younger brother that my younger brother gave to me. So thanks, Zach. But I think this book specifically I read because of you, Jade.
Heck yeah, my guy.
Because I was always more of a prequel fan growing up. So I liked those books better, the Jedi Apprentice and the Jedi Quest books.
Yeah.
While you were always more of an episode 6 and after fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were like, read this one. This is not even my favorite book in this series.
Mm.
but it's like the best. Like it's the best one in the series, but it's not my favorite.
Okay, that makes sense.
The only ones worth reading are the first one and this one, and my
Yeah.
favorite's the first one.
There are 9 books in this
The
series.
ones this series is so political. I tried to read it as a kid and I could not finish it.
I feel like now, though, it would be so interesting
Maybe. This
just to
book was a
see the
bit dense.
parallels of
Oh
that
yeah.
versus especially like the political climate of when these things were written. Like, oh my gosh, that would be so
Mm.
wild.
It was really fun to reread this book and like pick stuff out and be like, I remember that. That's in The Mandalorian, or that's in the sequel trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So, the context for this book. This book is set in 41 ABY, which is the after the Battle of Yavin. So that makes it 37 years after episode 6, which took place in 41 ABY. This is a 9-book series, and we're reading the last one because we're crazy, and the internet exists to fill us in on all the gaps. I also have read most of the other ones, so I have a pretty clear idea of what happened
Yeah,
before
I
them.
have literally only read this one and ones placed after this one.
Great.
And
So the
some of the
context.
Jedi Academy books, but
Oh my
that's
gosh.
irrelevant.
So in the first book, okay, hold on. Go back even farther. So there are 3 main eras that have taken place since episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
The New Jedi Order, which the New Jedi Order had all of Han, Leia's, and Luke's children. Well, mostly Han and Leia's kids, because Luke's kid's so much younger than Han and Leia's kids.
Mm-hmm.
They like went to Yavin 4 and like trained in the academy, New Jedi Order, and then there was the Yuzong Vong Wars,
Mm-hmm.
which I only know what my brothers told me about those. It's like these people come from out like deep space and came and attacked, and Anakin Solo died, Chewbacca died. It was
Mm-hmm.
not a good time.
At the same time on the same ship. It's
But
fine.
in the Yuzong Vong Wars, okay, Jade, would you like to talk about the family history? This episode's all over the place.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go into details or timelines. We're just going to go with characters we know and characters that they are family with. Okay, so we've got Luke. You may have heard the name Mara Jade. She was a Sith lady.
Emperor's Hand.
Yeah, the Emperor's Hand. I definitely forgot that. Oh boy. She was
There's a lot of
practically.
Star Wars knowledge in this brain that
Oh,
is coming out right now.
yeah. So Luke and Mara Jade had a kid, Ben Skywalker. Ben Skywalker. Okay.
A
Anyways,
flaming redhead.
yes. Ugh. I love him. Ben Solo, get him out of here. It's enough of that. Doesn't even make sense. Leia didn't even know him as Ben. Okay,
We don't need to.
we're gonna keep going. You can see I'm upset.
No, I've had the same debate with my brothers. We saw episode 7. We sat in that car on the way back at like 3 a.m. and yelled about this.
Okay, continuing on. Han and Leia obviously get married. Like, duh. They have Jason and Jaina. They are twins. They are very connected in the Force. They also have like crazy twin bond where they can like feel what each other's feeling, etc. They also have a son, Anakin Solo, which, as we just said, he ends up dying. They named a Star Destroyer after him. Well, they didn't. Somebody else we're gonna get to meet did. So Jason Solo, my guy, he spoiler alert, went to the dark side
Yeah, so that was what I was gonna say. Is in the Yuzong Vong War, he fell to the dark side the first time, and then
Yeah.
he like came back, and then he spent a bunch of years like learning about the Force, and then he had this weird Force vision about this dark figure like bringing the galaxy into chaos, and
Mm-hmm.
he was like, I have to stop them, and then he became that figure,
Yeah.
and that's how we get to the Legacy of the Force series.
Yeah. Before that happens, he marries. Does he
Are they
marry?
married?
Mm.
Ask the same question at the same time. I From what I understand, it was a one night stand.
Okay, so
But like a one night stand, like they were romantically involved
yeah,
or like they were attracted to each other, but it was just a like, let's do this, like we're about to die, let's do this kind
I
of thing.
see. So correction, Jason Solo and Tenno Ka, a Hapan, a Hapan queen. She they have a kid named Alana, cute little redhead girl because all the Hapan people are they have very similar features. They're all like royalty basically. Um Also, fun fact, Chewie ends up having a kid named Lobaka. Lobaka's still alive. We love Loey. He's very fun. If you haven't read the Jedi Academy books, those are also like kind of short, pretty fun. They're in fun colors. They're just fun little adventures. Jason cuts off Tenoka's arm, you know, as lovebirds do.
uh, yeah. So in the Legacy of the Force series, we start with, I don't remember the exact order of things, but Jason is tempted to the dark side by this woman named
Lumaya, yeah.
Lumaya. Let's go with that. And she like tricks him into falling to the dark side. He falls to the dark side. He tries to bring Ben with him,
Isn't she a
and is
Night
like,
Sister?
um, possibly.
I think she is. I think that's why he knew about Dathomir.
Well, Tenokal was born on Dathomir. Fun fact, I learned that today.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I was looking stuff about her earlier, and it said homeworld Dathomir, and I was like, what? Her mom was a Dathomirian witch. So learned
Whoa.
that today.
That's crazy.
So she could may Lumia may or may not be a Night Sister. Have to read Betrayal again to find out.
Hmm. Interesting.
But Jason like falls to the dark side and he's training Ben to be his Sith apprentice.
Ben's like
But
12, 13 at the time.
yeah. But eventually Ben is Luke Skywalker's son.
Yeah.
So he like realizes something's off. And then Jason kills Ben's mom.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't go over well.
My
and,
namesake. I hate him for it.
and then Luke goes crazy with grief. He's like, my wife is dead, and kills Lumaya.
Yeah.
And then we're like at this point, Jaina's training with Boba Fett and the Mandalorians so that she can have like an edge over Jason because she has to be the one to kill him because they have a force bond and because if Luke does it, he'll fall to the dark side.
She's also sort of the Jedi for that reason.
Yes, and there's like a prophecy about it.
Yeah, I was gonna read that at some point. Just because it's neat. I don't know.
Yeah. So then we at book 9, Invincible, where Jason is taking over the Galactic Alliance and the Remnant, which is the old Empire, and he's going to war against the Jedi and the Hapans.
There are a lot of Jedi at this point. There's several masters, um, at least 50 Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely more, but they said 50 for sure. So,
Yeah, it's really my two main things about this book. One, Luke is so cool.
oh my gosh, he's
He
literally
spends the entire book tricking Jason into thinking that Luke is gonna kill him instead of Jaina. He's like, Luke is like literally manipulating the future visions that Jason's seeing because Jason's like super scared of Luke,
mm-hmm.
but like doesn't expect Jaina to come and kill him. So like that's cool. He also does this thing where he like force projects himself onto Jaina so that Jason sees that Luke is fighting him, but it's really Jaina, which is like bizarre, but it's kind of like what he did at the end of episode 8, but without the death at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Hapan people is a group of like royalty and like these planets completely run by women.
Oh my gosh,
It's a
literally,
matriarchy.
yeah.
Why isn't this canon?
And the fact that they have female moths, I'm like, yes.
there's like there's a quote in this book where it talks about Tentaclaw's dad, Prince Isolder,
I sold her, yeah.
Isolder, and they were like, "Do you think that they would have had a male heir if they had a choice?" And like they hate the fact that he's ruling because he's a male, and it's so like women power. I just think there's so many men in Star Wars. We need
Yeah.
these people in canon. There's still time. You can still bring them in, Disney.
Oh, it's really fantastic. Yeah, when you could tell that that's where that was leading in episode 8, I could tell everyone was shocked. I was not because
Yeah,
I had seen it
Zach and I were not
before.
either.
We were like, no, I've already seen this. So part of me was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, this is how I would want this to go. And the other part of me was like, they stole this from Troy Denning.
Yeah, I'm like almost positive that Ryan Johnson has read this book
He had to have. There is no way he
because
could have come up with that by
episode 8,
himself.
like when I finished reading or like watching episode 8 the first time, I was like, this reminds me of Jana and Jason. Like the
Literally.
force bonds, that Luke scene, like all of it feels like it was taken directly from this book.
Angsty Luke. Yeah.
Yes.
He's literally staring out into nothingness 90% of this book. The rest of the time, he's being awesome.
The other two things about this book that I wish were in canon right now. One, Han and Leia happiness.
Ugh.
They are just such a power couple in this book.
And
And I have
Jaina
to,
knows it. She admits it so many times.
I am probably, they weren't that in the movies because of Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher more so than the writers,
Yeah.
but I miss it. There's just so much, like, throughout this book, Luke and Han and Leia are approached with so much trauma and sadness. They, like, have to deal with the fact that they lost their son Anakin, that their son Jason fell to the dark side, and the only one who can stop him is their daughter. And, like, they have to be okay with Jaina just, like, going out and maybe she'll live and maybe she won't.
And also the fact that Luke, their brother slash brother in law, like, he was also putting himself in danger this entire time.
Yeah, and so they're just like this bond of like we've done traumatic things together, but we love each other and we're always by each other's side, and it's so cute.
Yeah.
The other thing that I miss is powerful Mandalorians.
Mm.
There's so many Mandalorians in this book, and there's like a whole culture. There's the whole. I have to admit, which is probably another thing that they stole from this book, but I'm okay with it. But almost all of the Mandalorian stuff that's in this book is the same as is in the show Mandalorian,
Shocker.
without the number of Mandalorians.
Right.
But like Beskar's the same. They have all these sayings and cultures and are like, this is what you say to an assassin, this is what you say to a soldier, like when you go into battle. And it's like, that's cool. I want to watch a show with a bunch of Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Which we'll probably get in Mandalorian season 3, but if you want to take from this book, that's fine with me. Just credit it.
Yeah, literally. Don't even get me started. Don't get
there
me
was
started.
there was a line, not a quote from somebody when they started making the sequel trilogies, and they were like, "It's just so hard because we don't have any subject material for this." And everybody was like, "Okay, but there are like 50 books
I'm shaking
that
my
you
head.
just discredited." It's fine.
That are like at your disposal as long as you get the author's permission, which yeah, that's a lot of people to contact, but they're geniuses who did a
Like,
fantastic job keeping up with the canon plus creating their own content.
yeah, I don't care. Like, it doesn't fully upset me that like these books aren't canon anymore. Like, I understand like Disney's doing their own thing, like they're going through it. Like, that's fine. And like Star Wars is not like Marvel where you can just be like, "Oh, that's in a different universe."
Right.
Like that just happened on a different Earth. Like it's not set up that way.
Mm-hmm.
It just upsets me that they've like ignored them and then are like taking things from them and being like, "Oh, like we just came up with that."
Yeah. All right. Yeah, just like I freaking came up with, oh, I'm gonna come up with the idea of Yoda. He talks backwards sometimes. Oh, that's so
Like
crazy.
people put in a lot of effort into this, and like the EU is kind of a mess. Like
Well, yeah, because
this
they
book
were
is
all
not
done by different authors.
yeah, this book in itself is not perfect. A lot of it is super weird.
Yeah,
Lots of the books in this thing are a mess,
yeah.
and that's fine. And I could understand Disney being like, "Hey, we want to have a clean slate," but also don't take things from these books and then just be like, "I don't know where that came from."
Man, we're literally geniuses. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay.
Like people have done like people are really into this lore. Like we're really into this lore. And like I would like to see it credited on screen as like, "Hey, look, like we brought this thing from these books like canon. Like isn't that fun?" Like Thrawn.
Oh my gosh.
It is fun though, despite like when like they are like doing it like Thrawn, like nobody's gonna deny that Thrawn was straight out of the EU.
Right.
Like Thrawn has a series of books in the EU and he's pretty much the same in the canon.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's cool. If they ever make Revan canon, like I don't care what they do with it, I'll just be thrilled that Revan's canon.
You know what they're
It's
not
just
gonna make canon? Ben Skywalker, Carrie.
you know what they could make canon though? Mara Jade.
That's all I'm saying. There are literally people in the actual 501st Legion. If you guys didn't know, there's an actual 501st where people like dress up. You have to create your own stormtrooper, clone trooper, etc. costumes, and they get to like travel the country and be in Disney parades, and it's super cool. And there are people that dress up like Mara Jade, and I'm like, I want to be you. I don't.
She's just so cool. And the like this book does a lot for diversity. Like there's a lot of different aliens in it.
Oh
There's a lot
yeah,
of women in it. And I like that. And I wish that kind of thing was in the Star Wars movies more.
yeah.
But like Disney's doing what they want to do. Like nobody's gonna like what they're doing. I'm not gonna tell Disney to do better. And I'm not gonna discredit people who like the sequels.
Yeah,
Like they were entertaining to watch.
yeah,
I wish they had been done differently.
yeah.
Like followed the plot of this book.
Mm.
But like they're not bad movies.
No, I wish someone else would follow the EU, but I don't know if anyone's got the money for that
Yeah.
or cares. Make a
Yeah.
cartoon, man. That's dope. Make it Lego. Let's go, man. Literally the
You could
best thing
do
that's come out since the prequels. Okay, no. Rogue One was actually pretty good. Love that movie. But the
Rebels is
Lego
pretty good too.
the Lego Christmas special, like,
I still haven't watched that.
oh my gosh, you're going to love it. I'm telling you. There's literally like 6 Obi-Wans in it and it's so funny. Oh my
I was gonna say
gosh.
you could do like a weird, I don't know how you would do it, where it's like somebody has a forced vision about all the futures that could have been, and it's just like a trip. Like Marvel is doing the like what if animated series on Disney Plus,
Mhm.
where it's like all these like different like what if this had happened, and it's like I'm imagining, I don't know much about it, but I imagine a lot of it is like straight from the comics.
Yeah.
And so it's like you could do something like that for this as just a like fan tribute
Don't get
and
me excited.
be like, what if Luke had found a wife and it was like backstory, or like what if Han and Leia had stayed together and like that story.
What if Luke found a wife that was actually the Emperor's hand and redeemed her and brought her to the light side?
Oh my
What a
gosh, that
concept.
their love story is so great because she was
Gosh.
literally sent to kill him,
Ugh.
and then he was just like, no, I'm gonna love you, and then she's like, okay, and then they had a kid, and she's like literally
Sounds
the coolest person.
sounds a little bit like Ben and Tahiri, am I right, ladies?
Oh my gosh, I literally have a note about that. At some point we should talk about the book.
No, I don't think so. This is more fun. We could have
Just
our own
because
radio show about Star Wars and nothing else, and in between, George Lucas plays.
um yeah, so we go through this whole book, and the point is that Jane is going to kill Jason. Like, that's the main plot line of this book.
Yeah, that's the idea.
And for that being the main plot line of the book, Jaina kills Jason in 3 pages.
That's the part that was a bit disappointing. I remembered it being longer, but that's because I remembered when she was with the Mandalorians and that fight scene was a lot longer. And
Yeah,
I
she fights
thought,
him.
I didn't realize there were 2 fight scenes where that happens. I was very confused.
Yeah, there are 2 scenes in the book where Jaina fights Jason. One of them happens near the beginning of the book, and she, like, cuts off his arm. He, like, almost kills her, and that's when, like, Luke projects on her. And so, like, Jason thinks that he's fighting Luke this whole time, and then Jaina's, like, demolishing him.
And Luke also projects himself away from her so she can get away and so he can distract Jason.
Yeah. And then later, basically, Jason is, like, doing all of these things to make the galaxy a safer place
Mm-hmm.
for Alana, whatever, for his daughter. And at the end, they start making these nano killers, which like target genetic people of like the same genetics, which is a part that I think is super weird
It is
and did not,
so weird.
like, it's cool, but it did not need to be in this book.
Well, it also comes up later. They definitely talk about it
Yeah.
in the other books, and I think at some point Boba and Murda get to go back to Mandalore, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, they use one on Boba Fett's granddaughter Murda, and they like put it over the surface of Mandalore so like they can't go back. And then they make another one with Prince Isolder to target like the royal family,
Which is
which
all of them.
all of them, but it's especially Tenokal and Alana.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jason like he like kills Prince Isolder so they can't get his DNA, so they can't make the nano killer, but they've already done it. And so he's like freaking out at the end because he like wants Elena to live. Like that's what he wants. He wants the best for her.
He even saw a vision of a white throne and her as an adult being on that throne, like taking the throne as, I don't even know if it was as a Sith or just like ruling the galaxy. And it's like, dog, you're nuts.
Yeah, he's lost his mind. But at the end, like that's the only thing that he cares about.
Yeah.
And then Jaina shows up and she's like, I'm here to kill you. And he's like, no, I have to save Tenoka and Alana. And she's like, no, you don't. And then she like stabs him. And then he like sends a force vision out to them and is like, get them out, you're gonna die. And then she does, and they both live.
Yeah.
But that's why that scene is so short, is because he's incredibly distracted the whole time.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Tenoka and Jason remind me of a lot of Anakin and Padme. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that was intentional, but
It does make sense, like the royalty,
the like forbidden, because for a long time nobody knew that Alana was Jason's kid,
most people
and
still didn't know.
yeah, it was like a top secret
Yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
This book is it's very dense. Like a lot happens and a lot of like every sentence contains a lot of information,
Yeah. You can't
which
like
makes it
skip anything.
yeah, and it makes it slower to read.
Yeah. I'm glad you
Cuz
noticed that too.
I started this book on like Wednesday. Well, I started on Tuesday because I was like it'll be fine. I'll just finish it and like by like Thursday we'll be fine. We were originally going to record on Thursday, and it's now Saturday at 11:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And it took me until today at like 3 p.m. to finish this book. So it took me like 5 days to finish because it was so dense the
Mm-hmm.
whole time. But the fight scenes are really cool. I really like the way he describes the Force.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I was like, it's nice to read the Force being used because we always see it, but like I like reading about how people like how the force like flows through you and then these things happen.
How it's
Like that's cool.
perceived both from the perspective of the person using it and from the outside, because it is third person with a focus on whoever happens to be there at the time.
Usually Jaina.
Usually Jaina, there's a little bit of Ben, Han, and Jason. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so for the most part.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of Luke here and there.
Yeah, I but also this book is like fight scene, action sequence, political thing, random profound statement. Action scene, political thing, random profound statement. And I was like, okay.
I think it's nice, man. I liked how he described things. I usually don't like descriptions, but you can tell this guy knows what he's talking about because I don't even know what he's talking about. So
He used
he's
a lot
like
of like
very intense, deep lore stuff, man.
yeah, there were like multiple times when I was reading it where I was like, did he just mention this thing? He like mentioned Mace Windu at some point, and I was like,
Yeah, Mace
okay,
Windu using Shatterpoint.
Counterpoint. So he's like talking about
Gosh.
these deep um force things. He mentioned the Night Sisters at one point.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned I'm pretty sure he made like veiled Clone Wars references throughout this whole book.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's deep.
Yeah, it's something about like the clones being
Yeah, yeah.
soldiers and
It
yeah,
says we don't mind following a Jedi Knight. They used to make good generals after all. And I was like, is that a deep cut Clone Wars reference? Because that was
$100. Yeah.
the last time they were generals.
Yeah.
Who said the Clone Wars is like 100 years before this?
Yeah. I mean,
The next chapter has a Mace Windu reference.
I love it.
But
He's just so good at explaining things, and like the fight scenes keep you captivated and you can see exactly what's happening and how it's happening. He uses colors a lot. Did you notice that? He uses so many color words.
I didn't notice that. He used a lot of anatomical words
Yeah.
that I had to look up. like he used the word solar plexus,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
But it's your like sternum.
Yeah.
It's the nerve ending, like that nerve cluster at your sternum. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find, but basically Troy Dennings used a
Denning.
lot. I know, I keep doing it. I'm just gonna go with it and hope nobody noticed. He would make random comments that like pointed to like Jason's humanity or would just like play at the multiple sides of war,
Yes.
which I appreciate a lot because war is messy and war is bad, and so much of our like comic books and like Star Wars is very much like good, bad, nothing
You
in
heard it
between.
here first, ladies and gents. War is bad.
Hey, we don't need to get about my feelings about war on this
Star
podcast.
Wars, not good.
Right, but I
Sorry.
can't with
I'm
you.
done. Get me out of here.
But there would be little things when like Ben would be thinking and he's like, honestly, kind of what Jason does makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
Or the whole book, Jane is like trying to like make
Justify
sense.
Jason's actions.
Yeah, she's trying to make sense of the fact that her brother, her twin brother, is like fallen to the dark side, and she's like still trying to like hold out for that last bit of light and be like, he's not all bad. And so like there's lots of moments where she's like, okay, but like this, and
It made
I
me
can't find any.
really appreciate the next series in that the entire point of that series is Ben and Luke go on this like 7, 8, 9 book long journey to figure out how Jason turned to the dark side. And I love Backlash the most. One, because I've read it twice and I think it's great. Two, because Alana basically adopts a pet and I think that's adorable. And three, because it's about the Night Sisters. It's about Dathomir and it's super yikes. It's super dark, but it's so
Well, this book is pretty
interesting.
dark too.
Yeah, but it's super interesting seeing how passionate Ben and Luke are about finding out how he turned to the dark side and how to stop anyone else from following the same path.
I love that. I found one of them. When Jaina at the beginning sneaks into that base to like kill Jason the first time they fight,
Mm-hmm.
she's like she's has this whole like scene where she's like thinking through what she's gonna have to do. Like she's trying to sneak in undetected, and she's going on and on about how all the like stormtroopers that are there, she's gonna have to kill them. And
Yes.
she says she was gonna kill them for the most dispassionate of all reasons because it was necessary. And like there's a lot in that chapter about how she's like, this is just what a soldier does,
Yeah,
like
they're
this is
just
where we're at.
soldiers. Like, they would do the same to me, even though they don't know me. They don't know what I'm like.
And I just think that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, it's not just, I'm doing the right thing. It's, am I doing the right thing?
Right. And she does that a lot in this book.
He touches a lot on morality and like,
Yes, that's the word I was looking for.
yeah,
Morality.
and what it means to be moral, because I've had conversations with friends before about, are the Jedi right? And we're not going to get into that right now because we could have a whole episode on that. But I think it's just important to note that, like, yes, you see one side is dark and one side is light because that's how they've been portrayed. Does that mean that that's correct all the time?
Right. There's a quote. Tahari is Jason's like Sith apprentice now, but
Mm-hmm.
she used to be a Jedi and then she fell to the dark side because that's usually how that goes. But they capture Ben at some point, and Tahari tells the like troopers that are there, like, this guy is a prisoner, Ben, and this prisoner comes from a family of assassins and murderers
Yeah.
because Luke killed Lumaya, and then Mara Jade like went to go kill Jason
Mm-hmm.
when Jason killed her. And so it's like interesting to see this opposite side of things.
Yeah.
Because like we'll all be like, yeah, the Sith are bad people. Like they do bad things, they kill people, they're not good. but like to the Sith, they're in the right, and they play with that. That's what makes Jason such a good villain.
Mm-hmm.
Is that throughout the entire book, he's constantly justifying what he's doing, and he's constantly like, I want to be better than the other Sith. Like, he's like, if I kill all these people, I won't be any better than Palpatine or Exar Kun. Like
Yes.
I'm doing this to make the galaxy a better place and to make this a better place for Elena, and like all of these things. And so he's constantly trying to justify what he's doing. And to him, what he's doing is right, even if he's blinded by hatred and he's losing his mind and he's like ruined everything.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was really interesting at the end, especially when everything's kind of resolved, the war is over, and Jaina goes, Jason's only thing was that he wanted to bring peace to the galaxy. And he might have actually managed to do that.
Yeah, I
Even,
was literally going to mention that.
yeah, even in dying. And I was like, huh,
It said
okay.
he had sacrificed everything, his name, his family, his reputation, his life, to unite the galaxy. And now here Jaina was, watching the birth of a galaxy-wide league of worlds dedicated to working together in peace. Had Jason won after all?
Mm. This book is incredible, you guys. Like, it just. You think you love Star Wars lore, and then you read something like this, and you're like, man, this is incredible stuff. It's very political. It's very, like, 1, 2, 3 political. The whole, so this is how liberty dies with thunderous applause, which there's literally a line in the book that's like, and then thunderous applause happened, and I was like, oh, no, Troy, sir, don't do that. You know better.
But there's also there's all these things in here about morality and like thinking things through. There's also tons of comic relief.
Yes.
Like I laughed out loud so many times. Every chapter has a joke at the beginning of it, which if you're following us on social media, you would have seen that I tweeted all of them, except for one because it was so messed up.
Yeah.
But it's sad because they're all from Jason when he was at the Jedi Academy, and then you're watching him get closer and closer to death throughout the whole book. And
Mm-hmm.
the one I didn't tweet was the chapter after he died, when
Yeah.
it was, what's the difference between a Jedi Knight and a Jedi Master? And he goes, I don't know, ask me in 20 years. And it was like Jason Solo, 15, Yavin 4 Academy. And I was like, that's messed up. Because he never got to be a Jedi Master.
Yeah. That one hurt.
It hurt. There's also Ben and the Heipan women, like what Tyran and whatever them are. There's a quote where one of them goes, "Now can I blast her?" And Ben's like, "Who's stopping you?" And she goes, "Men." And I just laughed.
Oh my gosh. There's so many good, like, Hanisms, too.
Oh my gosh,
He's
the
so
Han,
funny.
the Han and Boba Fett banter in this book is so good
It's
because they
so good.
despise each other,
For good
and
reason.
yeah, but they're like bantering with each other, and there's a lot of character development in Boba Fett's character in this book.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
just in this book, and he has his own book in the EU, and like he's not just in this book, but like he's blinded by revenge, and that's caused him to leave his wife, and his daughter hates him, and then his granddaughter hates him because of that. But also he's Mandalore,
Mm-hmm.
and he just really hates Han and wants to kill him, and
Yes.
Han doesn't really like him. But also Boba Fett spends so much of this book like teaming up with the Jedi just because it's a necessity.
Yeah. They're all just trying to survive.
It's just all so good.
I do like how you think it's going one direction and suddenly it completely shifts because somewhere in the background, Luke is screwing up everything because he can see the future.
Yeah, there's parts where Luke just like gets so involved in the Force that he just like zones out, and Han is like, it's so the Han dynamic is so great because he's like the only one who can't feel the Force, and so he's like on the ship surrounded by all of the Jedi Masters, and they're all like knowing exactly what's going on because they're like communicating with each other the Force and they can feel things, and then Luke just like zones out, and then Han is like, wait, what happened? In the final battle, Luke like zones out and Han realizes that they're about to die unless they do something, but like Luke was the one that was supposed to make the order. And so he tells Ben, he's like, you guys need to go, like launch the fighters, like go for it. And then Ben is like, I was supposed to wait for Dad's call, and Han is like, you should do it now. And then Luke wakes up and is like, that's interesting. I don't remember telling Ben to go.
Oh my gosh. Sassy Luke. Yes.
Luke is just so good. He's the leader of the Jedi Order. He's sarcastic. He has so much force power. He also like holds all of the secrets close to his chest, which is like a very interesting character dynamic that I like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this Luke is cool. Like this
Yeah.
Luke is terrifying.
And even when they were in battle, Jaina admitted, she's like, you know what? The best starfighter pilot in the galaxy is Luke Skywalker. Hands down. And I was like, dang. And so it went into like a description of what he was doing. And basically it was impossible and he did it without thinking. And I was like, that's what happens when you are the freaking best. I love him. There's one line at the very beginning. Troy Denning, he's such a guy. He
Can you tell that we have a crush on Troy Denning?
I love him. He goes, this is in Jaina's perspective, and it goes, these were not her mother's stormtroopers. These guys could shoot. And I was like, yes.
It's so good. There's one where after Jaina fights Jason the first time, I think, Han walks in and is like, honey, you look worse than Luke did after the Wampa tried to eat him.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, one of the like profound quotes was, every day it grows more clear to us that this fight will be won or lost in the mystic realm, not the physical. And literally that came true. Like, that was 100% accurate. It had nothing to do with the physical stuff. That basically resolved itself. It all had to do with what Luke was doing in the Force and what he was forcing Jason / Cadis to see. It was so incredible.
I'm not saying that you should read this book. I understand, canon purist, if you don't want to read this book.
I
It's
don't.
fine. The EU,
That
the
upsets
EU is a
me.
trap. You read this book, and
You read all of them.
suddenly you're like, now I have to know everything. And there's lots of just like one word references in this book where I'm like, oh, I know what that is because I've read the other books in this series,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't recommend you read the last book of a series. That's just what we did. But like, there was a reference to Alima Ra,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, she was like somebody who was just around in the first like 5 books. She was like a disfigured, like a Jedi who had been like disfigured by something, and she was just like angry and she like wanted to be a Sith, but she was like a really bad Sith or something like that.
That is so funny. Like, you're so bad at everything. You're even bad at being a Sith. Sorry. That was mean, but like, that's amusing to me.
But you know what my favorite thing about this whole book was? The character list at the beginning of the book.
Mm.
Like, all of the EU books like have character lists at the beginning that are like, these are the important characters in this book. Hold on, find it. It's like this like Ben Skywalker, Jedi Knight, human male. And it just like tells you all of these things. Like Darth Caedus, formerly Jason Solo, Sith Lord, human male. Boba Fett, Mandalorian bounty hunter, Mandalore, human male.
Yeah.
And then some of them have a timeline in the front.
The
This one didn't.
timeline is what I love. I wish this one had it. My other book has the timeline in it, and I reference it constantly because it says, like, what year it's around, and it has everything in order, and I'm like, yes. This.
Yeah, the I'm reading Light of the Jedi, the High Republic book that came
Mm-hmm.
out this year, and it had it at the beginning, a timeline at the beginning, and I was like, the timeline. But it's so short because it's only canon books. It was one page. I was like, I've read a timeline that's like 5 pages long.
Yeah, that's disappointing, but okay.
Okay, the last thing I'm gonna say is that my favorite force technique is mentioned so many times in this book, but the one where they like cloak their force presence,
Mm-hmm.
like I think that's so cool. I don't know why I like it so much, but a lot of times throughout this book, Jaina will just like use the force to hide herself in the force so Jason can't see her.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. Because that's something that I think about a lot, that I was like, well, if you're a Jedi and then you like have this force bond with somebody, like they're gonna know where you are at all times. Or like if you're like force bonded to your parents, like they're gonna be able to sense you at all times.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could like hide yourself from the force, then you can like hide from people.
Yeah.
I mean, Shatterpoint's cool too, but
I mean, yeah, literally shattering Beskar armor like it's nothing. Um, I I'm gonna do another shout out to Han Solo. So C3PO and Han Solo, their relationship doesn't change over 37 years. Might I suggest that now would be an excellent time to broaden your horizons? No. That one got me good. Um,
also the um I don't want to hear the odds in either. It wouldn't do you any good because the odds of you surviving this are so small.
Han is a grown man, still calling people names like Buckethead. I love him.
He calls Han calls him Goldenrod at some point.
Yes. Um.
Also, Jaina has a purple lightsaber, which just means she's the
Ugh,
coolest.
bless.
That's all I have to say. Okay,
Oh, I was gonna say some more quotes. Is that okay?
yeah, we need to wrap soon. I just keep
Yeah.
going. There's so I have 7 pages of notes, and we've covered like a tenth of them.
Yeah. Um.
Hit me up if you want to read my notes.
Something else Ben had mentioned as he was being tortured, of course, was he goes, as far as he could tell, nobody in this war had any claim to the moral high ground, which just proved, like, how intense. Ben Skywalker is 14 years old in this book, and
He's literally the smartest person in the whole book.
he is the smartest person in this entire book. I love him dearly. He's my favorite person ever. Just ever. I love him. But the fact that even he noticed that, he's like, no one's got the high ground here. Everyone's torturing and killing everyone. I was like, dang. He's so loyal to his dad, and he still said that.
Right, Ben at this point has like seen the dark side and the light side, and he's also Luke Skywalker's son. So he's super wise and he knows both sides of the story of like this war intimately,
Mm-hmm.
and he's still the most objective person on this team. Like Jason killed his mom, and he's still like Jason could be a little bit right. I'm like while Luke is like he killed my wife, he must die.
Freaking love Ben. Oh my gosh. Nobody ever said the light side was easy. It definitely required a lot of patience. It's so good.
At the beginning, Jason says, because that was how the Sith stayed strong. They needed pain to keep the balance to remind them that they were still human. And they needed it so they would not forget the pain they were inflicting on others. To make the galaxy safer, everyone had to suffer, even Sith Lords.
Mm-hmm. Didn't Jason mention that too? That
Yeah,
everyone.
Jason said that.
Oh, I thought you said Ben.
No, Jason said that.
Sorry. It's fine. If you want a good Star Wars book on what it's like to be a prisoner of war, this is it. Just in case you were wondering, there's a lot of prison scenes, my guy. Um, let's see.
Han, be nice to Mandal or we need his toys.
Yes, sir. I think the last thing was, of course, in a book of this magnitude and with a protagonist that's a female and a male writer, there's going to be a love triangle. It's gonna happen. I I love Zek. I do. I love
I've
him.
always been a Jag fan.
Shh. Nobody needs to know. I like Jag, but in this book he's just very stoic and Zek is more
Well,
like
he's stoic the whole time. That's kind of his thing.
right, yeah. Zek is more like the free-spirited but also like ride or die kind of person, and they're very connected in the Force, and I forget how the relationships turn out. I know they talk about it more. I can't
She
remember.
marries Jag.
Oh god.
I've looked it up. There's a part I texted you and I was like, Ben just roasted Jaina. Maybe it was just because Jag was the first eligible man Jaina had met that had was nearly the pilot her father was. He's like ranting about like he doesn't understand why Jaina's interested in him, and then he's like, I guess it's just because he's the first eligible man. And I was like, Ben, please
Again, Ben is
don't roast your cousin like that.
I just that's so funny to me. Like Ben is literally the voice of reason. I love him so much. He has a lot to learn, obviously, like but oh, he's so fantastic. For some reason I always thought Ben was older than Anakin.
No, he's a baby
Yeah.
because Luke didn't get married until way later,
How old
because he
was
had to do this whole.
Anakin when he died? Do you know?
I'll look it up.
He had to have been older than Ben by the way they were talking, but I always assumed he was younger for some reason.
Anakin. Oh, I knew that. Where's
I also just assumed Ben was older than 14. I guess I skimmed over that.
Yeah, I knew he was young. Okay. He was 17 when he died.
Dang.
Jade, give a final sentence review about this book.
Oh man. This book really just it's got layers to it, man. If you like political stuff, like fake political Star Wars lore kinds of things, if you like action sequences, if you like more of the prisoner of war things, if you like a little bit of love triangle, a little bit of romance, a little bit of comedy in there, this is just a fantastic book. And I made a note that I would love to see this as a movie just because of how well written it is. Like, I can see it in my mind and it's fantastic.
Yeah, this book like this series of books with a little bit of cleaning up, like the Legacy of the Force series would have made a great sequel trilogy.
Honestly.
And I don't blame them for not using it. There might have been some copyright stuff involved. I don't actually know what goes on. But it would have been good. It would have been fun.
I think it would have been better. It wouldn't have been perfect, but I think it would
No.
have left more people less disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it.
Also, this book has just left me as confused as I am in the Harry Potter fandom 100% of the time because I don't even know what's canon and what's not anymore.
Well, that's okay. With stuff like this, I don't care as much about what's canon. It's just what I like. In my head, I'm not that big of a Rey fan, so I'm like, canon? Nah. I'm Jaina all the way.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not technically canon, but it's enjoyable and it's fun.
Yeah, it's just what
Especially
we like.
if you like fan fiction, like if you like reading Star Wars fan fiction or just fan fiction in general, read this.
Read it right now.
Because you already don't care about what's canon or not, so read this book.
Guarantee you it is in some dark corner of your library.
Yeah.
That's literally where these books are located in our library. It's sad. I've spent a lot of time in that dark corner. It's okay.
Okay, Jane. What do you rate this book?
Don't do it. I actually thought about it today. I didn't
Yay!
land on an
I already put my
answer,
number
but
in.
I thought about it. Um, man. You're right, it's not perfect. It had a rough start, so if you can't get past the first few chapters, that's okay. Like, chapter one's a little rough, because there's a lot of things that won't have context, but it
Yeah,
gets
and
better.
chapter one's long.
Chapter one's long, too. It does get better, promise. All your favorite people are gonna show up, besides Chewbacca. Um,
Rest in
anyways,
peace.
Loey's
Also,
so
if you're gonna
good.
read it, maybe you should start with the first book in the series.
Nah, don't worry about
Read
that.
book one, read book five, read book nine.
Okay, you heard it here.
So read Jason Fell to the Dark Side, read Jason Kills Mary Jade, read this one.
Yes.
There's a lot of political stuff in the middle that's a little bit hard to read.
Yeah. So, I'll give this an 8.5.
I gave it an 8.
Yeah, I was there.
So we're an 8.25.
Yeah.
What puts it under Tweet Cute but above Algernon.
Wow.
And yeah.
So is that our
So
top book now?
our top fives are Tweet Cute, Invincible, Algernon. My grandma said my grandma told me to tell you she's sorry, and Austin Land.
That's quite a phenomenal list. If we read more EU books, it's all gonna be EU books. We need to make another scale just for those.
All right, Jade, take us out.
Okay, I'll take you out for dinner. Um,
Uh huh.
so cute. We're adorable. Um, okay, people of the internet, we have internet things. We have Twitter. We have Instagram. We might have a Facebook at some point. Don't worry about that.
We don't
Sometimes,
at this moment, so
yeah.
don't try and look there.
Sometimes Carrie has TikTok. We'll figure that out. We also have a Gmail, curlycriticspod at gmail.com. I almost don't even know our own Gmail. Please Gmail us. If you have any more EU books that you would like to hear about, please let us know. DM us, comment, like,
If you want to see
subscribe.
my notes, all 7 pages of them, hit me up. I'll
Honestly,
gladly send them to
oh
you.
yeah, I've got 5. That's a decent amount, okay? Um It's fine. I took them all on my phone. Um, Also, we're on YouTube as well. If you don't like all the other things, we've got a YouTube and we love it. It's very pretty.
You can't see our faces though, because we're not good at that yet. My computer literally cannot handle that, so we don't need that.
Same. I can't handle that.
Anyway, Really Critics is a proud member of the WB&E network. You can read more about that and listen to the other shows at wbne.org. There are 8 great shows on this network, all full of absolutely amazing people. One of which is Hello from Elsewhere, where Casey and Valerie Winters talk about pop culture and the themes throughout that, and they're amazing people. Here's a promo.
Do you find yourself thinking deeply about pop culture?
Do you wish for a super nerdy podcast that explores your favorite movies and books?
Well, look no further. From WBNE, it's Hello from Elsewhere.
On our podcast, we promise to literally transport you to all your favorite fictional settings.
I don't think we can actually promise that.
Yes, we can. Travel with us to the Death Star.
We can't put people in harm's way like that.
Or visit beautiful New Asgard.
That's so many plane tickets to Norway.
Explore the eras of Jane Austen or Frankenstein.
Metaphorically, we don't know how to implement time travel.
We do now on Hello from Elsewhere.
We're going to get in trouble with these promises.
With new episodes every other Friday, Hello from Elsewhere is available wherever you find your podcasts.
Yes, that part is true.
You can even listen on the Hogwarts Express.
Oh boy.
That was our episode on Star Wars. That was all of Star Wars in one episode.
Yeah, we talked a lot in this episode. And we could probably keep going for another 2 hours if it wasn't midnight.
Yeah, one day we'll get some guest stars to do some Star Wars-y things because we're very nerdy. We could go a very long time about Star Wars. That's kind of where both of our fandom worlds started.
Yes. Star Wars is my number 1 fandom.
Yeah, we're crazy, man.
It's like sometimes I forget about it, but it's always there.
It's always there.
Like, I'm never gonna not be a Star Wars fan, no matter how bad it is. I'm gonna be there watching all the shows, watching all the stuff, reading all the books. I haven't read all the books because there are a lot.
There's a lot.
Even the canon ones, there's too many now.
Oh, yeah. So for all you Star Wars-y fans out there, this was for you. Hopefully we do more. We just wanted to do a little introduction episode on why we love Star Wars and this incredibly niche book that hardly anyone knows about.
This episode is dedicated to my brothers.
This episode is dedicated to Carrie's brothers. Because I can't dedicate it to anyone. Anyways. Bye, everyone.
Bye.